What is up, everyone? It is first thing in the morning, so apologies if I'm a little bit groggy. I'm waiting for a delivery today, a very exciting delivery, and I need to begin filming this stuff to take you guys through the process of exactly what I'm doing. So it is February 1st today, and that's quite exciting because I started a little project on New Year's Day, and it's taken me exactly a month to get to this stage. Now let me show you guys what's going on. Here we have it. I know it's a bit of a mess, but as you can see, I have finally painted IMNC HQ MkIII. On New Year's Day, I stripped out all the furniture and most of the stuff, just had a little island in the middle with a dust sheet over it. And I did ceiling, walls, skirting boards, they've had a freshen up, door-ish, don't look too closely, oh my gosh. And no, I haven't done the radiator, need to do the radiator at some point, but that'll come later. It's taken a month between work and between everything. It's been quite a challenge. We had some dramas with the ceiling, that was funny. Don't look too closely at that either, but it's way better than it was. And I was looking back on my channel and I can't believe it. It's been 4 years since I first said I was going to paint this room. I couldn't remember exactly how it all panned out, so I went back and looked at the video, and it was around New Year's of 2020 that I swapped rooms with the kids. So this has been IMNC HQ for 4 years, and I've done nothing with it. I've basically been camping out in here. I've had heaps of stuff and no organisation, and obviously all the old kids paint work, the green walls, the blue ceiling, the trains and that were painted on the wall. So it is so nice to see it like this now. You know, don't get me wrong, I love that room, but it hadn't been my kid's bedroom for a long time. So it's just lovely now to have my own space that's been transformed back to something that is kind of suitable to make videos in. And that is obviously the goal, to make things look good on camera. And to do that, I've gone for a dark background. I've had a light background for, well, forever. I've always had white walls. So I tried a darker colour. We've gone this really dark blue. It's coming up a bit brighter on camera, but I think once I've got the big light off and I've got the blind closed, I'll be able to control the light a little more and make it look a bit more atmospheric. Only thing about this paint is it does mark really easily. So if you look closely, you've probably seen on camera already. I'm just going to give a little demonstration. If I just do this, as you can see, it just leaves a fingerprint. Wherever I've been doing stuff, you can kind of see like where I've been putting that shelf up, when I've been touching the wall around there and whatnot, you've got all those fingerprints and scuffs. Then over there, where I've been touching the wall less, you've got less marks. But believe it or not, these walls have had 4 coats of paint and they're still not perfect. Don't think I'll be using this paint again, but then again, it is my first time painting with a super dark colour, and I'm no painter, you know, so I gave it a good go. It is definitely good enough for me, but if this was in like a main living space or whatever, it leaves quite a lot to be desired. But in here, it's definitely for functionality and making videos and doing all my stuff that I do in here. So it is absolutely fine. You probably notice the lack of desks in here, and that is because I have ditched both of my old desks. I've got some timber on the floor here, and the delivery that I'm waiting for today is another batch of materials ready for building my own desk. So my plan is to build a 2-meter workbench across this wall, and then a 1.6 meter bench here for my main setup. It is going to be a much better use of space than my old setup. The big main desk did have some life left in it. I could have continued to use it, but it was just too big for what I needed. It was lovely and I loved all that space, and next door in IMNC HQ MkIII, it worked really well. But in here, I couldn't move the furniture around into a position where everything worked and I had enough room for everything I wanted to do. So we're going kind of workbench style all the way along, almost like a corner desk, but it's definitely going to be pretty sort of rustic. You know, I'm putting this stuff together to work, not to look pretty. It should look okay. I've saved the legs from my old desk and I've bought some new IKEA legs to support the rest of the desk, and you'll see my plan later, but that's basically why I've started the video today. So this delivery should come pretty sharpish today, hopefully. I'm really hoping, and then I can kind of make a start. And I'm kind of hoping to get the majority of the main 2-meter bench done this weekend. That's the goal. I've got a little bit of work on and off, so hopefully we can make that happen. And then finally, just touching on this shelf, because I'm sure you guys have spotted this and it is looking pretty interesting. I decided to build this before building the desks because I had all this space here. Once I get desks here, it's going to be a little bit more cluttered. So I put this on the wall. I started with this timber and I took 2 lengths and screwed the 2 lengths of timber to the wall. That was to pretty much support the shelf and to support anything else I want to screw into it. Like, as you can see, I've put a speaker here on a speaker bracket. I'll be putting that one there. Having this wood here to mount things on. I've put my video light here as well. I've made a little kind of janky kind of bracket and brace for that there, but that's completely solid in the corner. So that saves space on the tripods for the video lights. This has proved to be really handy already, and it will continue to be really handy. The shelves themselves are just IKEA shelves. This one here is 120 centimeters in length, and I've actually had this for years and years. This is meant to go up into IMNC HQ MkII. Never got around to putting it up. So it's up here. And then I spec'd all this out for another length of this. So I was like, okay, 120 here. I'll put 120 here. So we've got 2.4 meters overall, got 2.4 meter lengths of timber, screwed them to the wall. But then I realized that they discontinued this 120 millimeter shelf. So I was absolutely gutted when I went to order a second one. But luckily they make 60 centimeter ones. So I just got 2 of those. 1, 2, and we've still worked out perfectly at our 2.4 meters. So that was a massive stroke of luck. And it's actually pretty cool because these have a 15 kilo rating, and so do these. So instead of now 30 overall on the shelf all the way across, I've got 15 here, then I've got 15 in this portion and 15 in this portion. So I've increased my weight rating ever so slightly. As you can see, I've got a fairly bulky PC tower on here and a load of other stuff. And while this is all on here, I clung on to these bits of wood and lifted myself up, and yeah, it's not going anywhere. This is the wall between this room and our bedroom, and it was actually quite a challenge to mount because the wall is nowhere near straight. It completely bows inward, as you can probably see there. It goes out, then it goes back in, and then it comes out a little bit. But I got lucky because this corner here, that's plaster, that's brick. So we were able to get 2 really solid masonry fixings into that corner because that's randomly brick, which is great. And then we've got 10 fixings all the way along the batten. So 10 on the top, 10 on the bottom. And this is an old plaster wall. So our house is pretty old. This is plaster and lath. So when you move a stud finder across the wall, everything is a stud because of all of the little bits of wood that are going across. This has had a sheet of normal plasterboard put on top of it at some point over the years. So you've got plasterboard on top, layer of plaster, and then you've got the old school studs wherever they may be, and the lath. So I drilled many pilot holes to find those studs, and we got into a good few of them, and it's completely solid. So I am really chuffed with that. I got it level, which was also a challenge on this really curved wall. But yeah, we've ended up with a great shelf. And this is positioned so that when I sit, I'll try and demonstrate this. There we go. When I sit at my desk, I can reach up to the underside of the shelf. So it means that I can mount stuff underneath, and obviously I can put stuff on top. So that is great. These little upright brackets here, the only reason they are in position is because this was incidental as well. I realized once I put the wood on the wall that we had this void here behind the shelves and the wall, and it was perfect for running cables. So I don't have to worry about any kind of cable management or trunking systems or tray systems or anything up here, because there's going to be quite a lot of cables for all the gadgets and stuff we've got going on. I've just got this kind of natural channel, and as you can see, I'm testing out the theory with these speaker cables that I've started to put in place. We're going to have quite an interesting audio setup, so I'll explain that later on in the video or in the next video. But as you can see, they just sit along there and it seems to work really well. So you can run cables all the way that way, and yeah, natural cable channel, pretty handy. So 2.4 meters and then a 2 meter workbench. The way that maths works out is I've got drawers that are going here, as you can see, and then the table will start, and then we'll get to our main setup, and there'll be a depth of 600mm here from the wall, a little bit out from the wall because I've got speaker mounts and stuff for that setup that have to fit behind there. So I've measured it out and we'll perfectly fit everything in. As for the rest of the room, this shelving unit back here is staying there. That is where it's going to be. And the server network rack is staying where it is. That's where that's going to be. I also took the opportunity, we had just a pendant light up here that we put in when the boys first started using this room. I've changed that for a 3-spot GU10 fitting, and they've got RGB CW lamps. That is red, green, blue, cool white. So it's on cool white now, but I've got all the colours of the rainbow that we can play with. So in the night time and that when the blind is closed, I can make some nice atmosphere in that for backgrounds of videos. I also took the opportunity, because we were repainting, I changed the socket fronts here, and also the light switch. I've put all new white basic MK switches and sockets in. In here before was those metal sockets, the sort of chrome type ones, and they had all the layers of paint around the edge and stuff. And yeah, I prefer plastic sockets anyway, so I just did that, and it looks a lot cleaner in here now, matches the fresh skirting board and stuff. So yeah, that truly is everything now. I am going to wait for this delivery and hopefully update you guys when it arrives. So my delivery is coming with City Sprint, and it's pretty cool. They've got a very quick to update map on their site. This guy's been all over the place already. It's very, very impressive. But yeah, the delivery's coming from Wickes, and I think what I should really do is explain to you guys exactly what I'm building, and then that way when the delivery arrives, I won't spend loads of time telling you guys what I'm building, and instead I can just get straight down to digging right in. I have ordered from Wickes 2 lengths of kitchen worktop. Now, this is not unusual for desks. A lot of people these days are buying a nice piece of kitchen worktop, putting some legs on it from IKEA, and that is their instant kind of lovely, good value and really good looking desk. But what I'm doing is slightly different. Usually people go for like a nice wooden worktop or something that has got a design or a pattern on it that looks really classy, looks nice, fits in with the room and stuff that they're doing. What I'm doing is completely the opposite of that. I basically looked for the absolute cheapest worktop available for home delivery. I knew I wanted to use kitchen worktop because, again, it's an easy way to get a nice finished bit of wood that is suitable for desktop. And the general 600mm depth, although it's not a very deep desk at all, it will work very well for what I have planned upstairs. And the standard depth of worktop is 600mm. So yeah, I looked for the cheapest worktop I could, and I've managed to come across some 2-meter lengths, which is perfect. Usually worktops come in 3-meter lengths, and then you can get them custom cut, but that kind of adds cost and stuff, or you can cut them down when they arrive. But a 3-meter delivery is really big, especially for my space up there, getting it in there and that. So I'm really pleased that I've been able to find these 2-meter lengths, and they were cheap as chips. The only option cheaper than these are standard white laminate worktops. So I've got standard black laminate worktops that have a little bit of a kind of stone effect to them. The white ones are cheaper, but I did not want to go for white because that's going to look rough as. I wanted to go for that kind of darker look, as I was explaining. So the overall plan is to get the lengths of worktop. Obviously, I'll cut down one of the 2-meter lengths to the 1.6 that I need. Then we're going to build a small amount of framework underneath it with that remaining timber upstairs. That will give us a bit more support, but it'll also give us more options for mounting stuff to the desk, screwing things to the desk, being generally a little bit more robust. And then within that framework, we'll place all the IKEA legs so that it stands nice and strong, and it should look good. We'll paint that timber the same colour as the walls. And then I've got some cable tray and some other little accessories to pop on the desk as part of the build. And I've also got a corner piece to assist with our corner join of the worktop. So hopefully that will go well. But yeah, that's what I'm expecting in the delivery. So when it arrives, we can dig straight in now and I don't have to explain all that. We've got the one in and we've got the end piece. Took a little while. I've been waiting since 7 a.m, but that's fine. They did say between 7 and 12, so that's all good. I was just hoping it was going to be closer to the 7 o'clock end. So I'm going to grab the other one now. It's crazy now that we got it up here, how small it looks. But that's a good thing because there's space to build. There's quite a bit of room. So the second piece is up and I've flipped it around so you guys can see the finish on it. There's a bit of a rip over here. So that is what we're looking at. Very nice. So looks quite light here, obviously, because we're right under the window with all the light. But yeah, it's a nice dark finish. Laminate worktop. This is a 28mm thick worktop. So not overly thick, neither is not too heavy. Oh man, still slightly heavy to get up the stairs though. And then also included, we've got the strips to put on the end. So once you cut it, you can stick those on so you don't have that kind of jaggedy chipboard looking end. I've got one portion of the worktop laying on the ground here and I've unwrapped it, but I've left the wrapping on the front surface. So this is obviously the bottom. The other one is leaning up here. We'll deal with that one later. We'll build this entire one first, flip it over and actually start using it first. And then this will give us a handy surface to cut this one down as well. So that's my plan. Like I said, gonna build a little framework underneath the worktop. So we are going to take one length here, one length across the front. This is the back edge. And the reason that I'm working from the back forward is so that when it comes to placing it here, it's going to be quite heavy. So I can just flip it over as opposed to trying to rotate it 180 degrees as well. And then we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4 across on the bottom, and then we'll start positioning the legs. So a leg in each corner. Front, middle corner will get unscrewed once the other bit is on, because we'll join the desks together, and then there won't be any legs in the way of your knees when you're trying to move between one setup and the next. Leg in each corner, and then 2 legs at the back for support, and that should be ample. First cut done, and this is not going to be too bad, I don't think. The only thing that I'm slightly gutted about is these parts that I'm cutting off aren't quite going to be long enough to do my supports underneath. Just another couple of inches would have done it, but never mind, I'll keep these and they will come in handy for something. But that is one length cut. We need to do another length, and then we can secure those down and then get a nice tight fit on the cross sections in between. Looking at how solid and heavy everything is, I think I've over-engineered. So I think a central support and then 2 legs at the back would be completely fine. So across in the middle, then legs even at the back. That should do the trick. I mean, it's probably not going to bend at all, even without any of this, but I just want to be overly sure that it can withstand any weight. So I'm definitely no carpenter, but that frame is looking okay. Yeah, getting straight cuts with the old handsaw on the floor here is proving to be a little bit difficult. I'm hoping that the next desk is going to be slightly cleaner when I've actually got a surface that I can lean on and stuff, because there's no room to swing a cat in here. But we have got all of the underside frame on, and I've got these little metal brackets between the portions to strengthen it. That should be completely overkill and completely fine to stop this thing from bending. So let's get some legs and space them out to see where they're going to go. There's 6 legs on the bottom of this, and I'm going to try and manhandle this over now, so that'll be fun. There she is. Okay, let's get the cover off and have a little look. There's our end strip that we can attach later. That is actually maneuverable. I thought it was going to be too heavy to move, but check that out. Lovely. Looking good. Looking really good. So that is my new workbench. It is solid, absolutely solid. You could stand on that easily. A few people could stand on that. That's looking great. Looking really great. Obviously, I'm going to paint the front side, but check that out, guys. A little bit of sanding, a little bit of painting. Got a bit of a wobble on there, but of course, I need to level the legs once it's in position, and then having that desk to support it as well will be perfect. Quick look at the underside. Nice. Okay, success. I'm gonna go and make some dinner. So I'm refueled and I've returned upstairs, pushed this back into its place. As you can see, we are now against the wall, and I'm having my first test ride of just sitting in my chair and just kind of feeling what it's like with the shelf and everything. Yeah, it's pretty wonderful. One note with these worktops is this is 2 meters. I bought a 2 meter length, but they always send slightly longer, and what you're meant to do is cut them down. It didn't matter because the measurement wasn't crucial for this. It wasn't exactly 2 meters. There's definitely a little bit of wiggle room with this. That's why I didn't trim this down. But as you can see on this end here, you don't get the finish all the way to the edge. You just have that little kind of overlap there. So I will be kind of, obviously this isn't permanently here. I need to do the extra work underneath with the cable management stuff, and I need to sand it down and paint all of this. But yeah, that's going to come tomorrow or the day after. I've brought Henry up with me. He's just going to suck up all the sawdust. I'm going to try and have a little tidy up now, but at least I have a desk here. So that is excellent. I've got one desk. So worst comes to the worst, I've actually got a work surface. The only one thing that I'm kind of left a little bit unsure about now is what am I going to do about the wall? So I did kind of consider pushing the desk right up to the wall because this is completely flush. It will go right against the wall, but the wall isn't straight as we previously spoke about. And obviously I want to be able to get cables and clamps and stuff behind. But because this isn't resting against the wall, you can push the desk back against the wall like that. So I may make a couple of spacers and screw them to the back of the desk, and then that'll act as a nice little kind of not any kind of attachment, but just a physical spacer between the desk and the wall, and that'll leave me with the best of both worlds. So I'll still have a void, but I'll also have attachment to the wall. That's something I'll think about later on. That is not that important. Okay, today is over. I am just gonna have a little tidy up. It is the next day and I've got off work nice and early, so we should be able to do another kind of excellent session on this. You may be able to tell things are a little bit different. I did come back in here late last night when all the kids were asleep, and I did some quieter tasks. So I put on 3 brackets on the edge that are going to hold the other portion of the desk. I put on this edge profile thing that looks really nice. That is much cleaner than just having nothing, so that's great. You've got this little overhang here that is shaped the same as the front of the worktop. So this one, I should just be able to push nice and tight in there and then screw it on from underneath. And then if it needs more support, I can always add some more brackets. I've got some other kind of brackets as well that I can try if necessary. I put a little bit of paint on the front of the desk as well, just to see how it would look. I need to sand it back and do another couple of coats, but that is roughly, if we go from a distance, that's roughly how it's going to look. So that is quite nice. I am pleased with that. Obviously that leg's not going to be there. So mission for today is to do all of this again. So I'm going to measure, double check everything, and then we'll get cutting. So in the end, feeling how solid it was, I didn't even go for a central piece. I thought it would have been overkill having 4 legs across the back. This is considerably shorter at 1.6 versus 2. So I've got just 1 leg in the center at the back and then no support in the middle. I think it'll be absolutely perfect. So I vote we flip it around and give it a go. Whoops, I probably should have planned that a bit better, but we got it round in the end with brute force. So there we have it. Check that out. That's just slotted together beautifully. I tried to unscrew that leg, but I couldn't do it. So we'll try that again in a minute. But there's the join, there's that portion. As you can see, we haven't gone tight up to the door, so the door won't bash into it every time. Might put something on the corner anyway to act as a sort of door stop. There we have it. Just got to kind of line it up a little better at the back there. And then we can go underneath and screw the 2 together. So it's a total of 12 screws, 6 already in this side, of course, just got about 6 in the other side. We'll see if that holds. I've given the place a quick vacuum and a little tidy up, but not too much because we've still got a lot to do. So there's no point going crazy on it. Looking at the setup, I am really pleased with everything we've been able to achieve in just this short space of time. So it means that tomorrow I can spend a lot of time doing the more little fiddly bits, stuff that I thought I would kind of have to do later in the week. We can get done tomorrow because I wasn't expecting this to actually get done. So sanding and painting I might do later tonight. We will see how that goes. This middle portion here with the leg now removed is absolutely brilliant. There is no issue at all. I mean, this thing is solid as a rock. But yeah, that's me signing off for tonight. That has been excellent progress, and I will show you guys tomorrow if I do decide to do anything later this evening. Good morning, everyone. It is day 3 of the desk build, and I did once again last night get in the mood for a little bit of midnight tinkering. But instead of continuing with the painting, which probably would have been a more kind of sensible thing to do, I decided to tinker with this keyboard tray instead, and I am really glad that I did. So these brackets don't fit on this desk because they're not big enough, and I'm really glad that they don't, because look how much of a difference that would have made to how clean this looks. Just check that out. Imagine that there. Obviously it'd be flush to the desk, but still, you know, it's not a bad product, but I mean, that is a bulky thing. We've just replaced it with 2 L brackets on each side for our beautiful keyboard tray now for our test setup. The only thing is, I should have really done it for this desk, because this is going to be my main setup. I should have put the keyboard tray here because this is the setup that I need set up first. So I should have put it there because that's also going to have a keyboard tray. Say what you will about trays, I know they're not too popular at the moment, but I need the desk space and it's a great solution. I've tried it out for comfort. I'll show you guys in a minute. But first, this keyboard, by the way, I bought on eBay on the Boxing Day sale. It's a random, really cheap mechanical keyboard, but it's actually really good. I like the feel of it a lot. And it was super cheap. And I've needed a permanent keyboard on my test setup for the longest time now. As you guys know, I've been using that Apple keyboard on all the videos we've been doing, and I just needed a proper keyboard on the setup. So that's nice. That's the mouse from my main setup. I've also got a mouse for this setup that I bought, again, super cheap. I'll show you later. The only thing that I had to do that was a little bit kind of unorthodox was this tray is actually mounted upside down. So you can see the brackets here that are screwed into the tray. That's all meant to be the other way. So this tray is meant to be on top, but it's completely fine. It makes no difference. I really don't mind seeing the screws. And the only other difference is under the keyboard, so you'll never see it anyway. You can see the brackets. Obviously they're not on the underside, and there's a bit of a logo on the underside and that, but who cares? You know, that is working beautifully. There's also, you won't be able to see it probably, but there's like a cable management doohickey at the back of that tray. That's how far it comes out. Mouse space, keyboard, lovely stuff. I need to get a mouse mat that fits all of this, so I might mouse mat the whole thing. I'm going to sit in my chair and show you guys exactly how it works out. It couldn't be any more perfect. My chair armrests fit absolutely perfectly with about 1 millimeter to spare under the keyboard tray, and that is a complete fluke. And the comfort is there. I can rest my arm, I can use the setup, I've got a great distance. The monitors are going to be on monitor arms right at the back of the desk, and then I've got all this desk area here, so I could quite happily have like a motherboard box and a motherboard and all the components sprawled across the desk here, and still test things, or have, you know, Power Macs or whatever open on the desk and test them, and I've still got keyboard and mouse not in the way, and that it's just going to be a glorious setup. That has worked out really well. I will get a second one of these trays for the main setup, and then this will allow me to always have my keyboard here, because this setup is going to be really simple. We're going to have our vertically stacked monitors like on my previous setup, a studio monitor here and a studio monitor here, and then I can have my keyboard and then my keyboard tray for the computer keyboard and mouse, and then we can put all the stuff in that corner, Mac Mini and bits and pieces. I've also hit another fluke that is just again so lucky. I could come off on camera like I planned all this, but I really haven't. This has just worked out wonderfully once again. We have a clearance issue with the speaker brackets for my monitor speakers on the main setup, but I have solved that once again using these very handy 90-degree L brackets. So I've clamped down really hard on those brackets, and I'm glad this bolt is this long, because you'd never have a desk that thin. So I'm really glad that it includes that much length, because now that is really sturdy. We can just screw these directly to the back of the desk, like that. And there you have it. I was trying to come up with all these ideas. I even thought of using a little bit of strut channel, bolting it along the back of the desk, because then it would give me a sort of 40mm profile that I could bolt stuff down onto, and that would be quite handy. But then I thought that's going to add cost, that's going to add weight to the overall setup. It's a little bit clunky. And then I thought, let's put a really thin piece of wood back there. But then I was like, that's just screwing a load more stuff into the back of the desk, and then it's another thing to paint and all that. So I'm really glad that this has worked out nicely. So I've got nearly a full afternoon to work on this later on today. A couple of bits to do this morning, but almost a complete afternoon. So I'm thinking that we can get the majority of stuff done today. Only thing that's not going to get done today, or the only thing that needs to be done sort of in the future, is this edge profiling wherever I've put it. The stuff that you put right on the edge of the worktop, I need to get some adhesive for that. And I need to watch a YouTube video of how to actually properly apply it without it looking a complete mess, because I don't know how to do that. So I'll get that done, but that'll come later. And we only need to do it to one side. For me to be able to determine where these cable management things and that are going underneath the desk, I need to put everything on the back and the front, so that I get an idea of, oh man, that is only just on that one. I got lucky. I hope the singular arms that are going on the other setup are the same size as this. Whoa, that is tight. That is tight. Okay, there's a bit more to go. That's okay. So it looks like we are lucky with this one. This just about fits without any kind of modification, which is good. And that'll clamp down nice and firm on the desk. I'm doing this now because this will show us any obstruction underneath when we come to mount the cable management trays and things. It'll show us exactly where we can and can't put things. So I just want to make sure that positioning for all of this stuff on the main setup is quite final, because we're now going to be screwing in those speaker brackets. That is quite important. So we're looking at exactly 1 meter wide for the primary main setup, not including the little side area here. So that is nice, plenty of room for a couple of 24-inch monitors and some speakers in a good position. Whoops. Oh, take two. Oh God, here we go. So now I'm just kind of eyeballing this one. I need to clamp down these brackets a little straighter, but we are looking at something like this. Once I get that side on, I can measure the distance between the monitor stand and the speaker stand to get the correct distance for that one. So I'm going to do this one first, although access would probably be easier if I did that one first. It just makes more sense to do this one because we have more issues to contend with, like the door and that. I need to get that one sorted first because that one can go anywhere. If it slightly comes out that way when the measurements come back, that's absolutely fine. So what I need to do before marking this out is obviously clamp down, making sure that these two brackets are completely straight, because right now they are not. And it is not going to sit nicely if it's like that. So that is going to be a bit of a problem. As you can see, the speaker is heavy enough to start bending the the bracket. Obviously, that is understandable given the weight of the speaker. If I bend that into the right place and then let go, I can like get it to balance, but that's no good at all. Like I can get it to balance there. There we go. I've completely let go, but that's relying on gravity to keep it straight. One knock and you're back into that kind of position. So it's not ideal at all. Let's pull that down. Completely understandable with, obviously, this bracket would be out and clamped nice and tough to something ultimately really solid. That is not solid enough. So the keyboard tray is a little bit different. These are quite strong little braces, but the keyboard tray obviously is very solid in itself and it's not holding any kind of weight, whereas this is direct force down onto the top of the bracket. So that is not going to work, and that is fine because we know that now. And we've had so many wins and flukes with this setup. I am fine with one slight not win. So let's put this speaker back safe over here for a sec and we'll come up with something else. So I'm looking at something that may work out a little bit better if I can achieve it. I've been looking closely at the size of this clamp, and between the top and the bottom of the clamp, again, apologies for poor lighting, that will fit on the desk, just. The trouble is this piece is obviously designed to not, grab the desk, nice little soft pad there, that grabs it on the bottom. I am going to try and crank this bolt out of here because this is designed not to be unscrewed, as you can see. I'm going to try and not break it just to see if I can get this clamp on and bolt it without this piece. Okay, I thought I'd mount you guys up on my monitor stand because things are about to get exciting. I'm about to use the hammer. So some of this could be out of shot. I'm so sorry if it is. Let me just try and angle that down a bit more. So here's the speaker bracket. And I've managed to get this piece off. It did kind of crunch out of place, so I don't know if that would go on again very successfully. But this opening now is just big enough to get on the desk, but I can't quite push it on. It is the exact same size. If it was 1 mil bigger, it would fit. So my plan is to line it up with the back and then just bash it a couple of times with a hammer, and it may end up fitting on the desk. So I'm really hoping this doesn't split the finish on the laminate worktop. Let's see. Oh guys, I really don't know. Okay, here we go. Let's try it. Oh no. Okay, get in there. I mean, it's splitting the wood a bit, but if I can get it straightened up, then we should be able to get somewhere. Come on, please work. Oh my gosh, we actually got it on there. Check that out. I gave it a few bashes and surprisingly didn't damage it that much on the back. We have completely destroyed the wood. It's all splintered at the bottom there, but that doesn't really matter. I can just pick those bits off, and I've tightened that. That just isn't needed really anyway, because that is completely never ever coming off again. You'd have to give that equivalent massive wax from the front here to get it off. So that's in position, and that has worked out much better than my clamp idea because now it sits further into the desk. Let's place the speaker on top just to give it a little test. And obviously it's strong enough to hold up the speaker, so sorted. Angle and everything would be tweaked obviously when it's permanent. Yeah, let me bash the other one on in the same manner. I could do with hearing protection to do this. Perfection, absolute perfection. That one was a little bit trickier because the desk's at an angle, we were closer to the wall, so I wasn't able to get such a good swing on the hammer, but that is in. Apologies for the dust, obviously we'll clean everything and whatnot before putting it back on properly. So the next thing we're going to mount is the monitor arm for my main test monitor on this setup. Now you guys will be chuffed to hear that as well as a new keyboard that is going to be a permanent fixture in this setup, I now have a new monitor. Because, for anyone who watched my recent PC video, you will know that I wanted a standard 1080p monitor instead of using an old, slightly less than 1080p, 1680 by 1050 Dell monitor that I've had for the longest time. So I picked up, again, Boxing Day sale on eBuyer, the cheapest 1080p monitor that was advertised on the site, and I'm hoping it's not a complete piece of junk. It's not going to be great, but it's just for a test setup. So it's an MSI monitor. I'll show it to you in a second. This is a Duronic monitor arm. I've used these a lot in the past. That's what my other one is. And this time I bought the double arm so that I can bring the monitor closer to my face. There we go. I can actually bring it quite a ways across the desk now. That'll be really handy. And when I don't need that functionality, I can just fold it back and it'll be much closer to the wall. I'm really hoping that this clamp is going to fit on the desk. I'm hoping this is kind of the end of our clamp worries now. Definitely one thing I've learned from building this desk is if you are going to clamp a lot of stuff to the desk, make sure it all fits first. Is this going to fit? I don't know. Oh no. Same story. It fits, but this metal bit here that's designed to spread the load, so it's not just the bolt going straight into the desk in one place. This bit doesn't fit. Unfortunately, unlike my speaker stand. Okay, I've just broken that off. So, yeah, I guess we're fitting it without that. Without that, it will indeed just go like that. However, we do have some screws to put in the top to get the pole on. So let me fit those. They're recessed. Check that out. So that'll be fine. Let's pop those on. I think it's almost to the point of comedy now that we haven't actually been able to use anything for its intended purpose, or at least modify nearly everything to get it to work. But my luck continues with just everything working out just enough to make it actually function. So that looks good to me there. There we go. So that is clamped down. I've got it intentionally not quite center to the keyboard. It's going to be on an arm, so it'll come this way slightly. Can't forget the little plastic cap that goes on the top. Here's my little MSI monitor, cheap and cheerful. I'll put the link on, put the name of the model on the screen, and then I'll put the link in the video description. There are links for everything, by the way, in the video description. They are affiliate links, just so you all know. It does help me out ever so slightly when you guys click on those. You don't have to buy this stuff, obviously, but for anyone who's curious, all these monitor arms, any of these speaker mounts or whatever, even down to the little brackets and stuff that I'm using for things, I'll try and shove all of it down there as much as I can remember. I didn't necessarily buy all this stuff from Amazon, like this came from eBuyer, but I'll stick with all Amazon links, except for places where I can't, such as Wickes for this worktop. I'll also link down there as well. Yes, so I'm going to get this mounted onto the back of the monitor here, and that is the orientation because the hooks are on the bottom, so that'll sit there. And the smaller screw spacing on this monitor. So a little issue here with the mounting. We should be able to sort it out. This monitor has a very small mount, so we use these tiny screws, but the screw bottoms out in the thread in the monitor before the bracket is secure. So I thought that's not a problem. Let's use the longer screws and the spacers, but you get about the same amount, maybe even more distance the other side of the spacer, as you can see. So that would equally bottom out in the hole. I'm going to try and find some washers that fit this, because even just a washer or two on each will do it. It is very neatly tight, but even with all four in, there's still a rattle with this. It's not sitting quite flush to the back of the monitor. So they're not perfect washers, but they are pretty good, as you can see. And just one in there has sorted that completely from my handy little multi-pack of washers there that I knew would come in handy. It might be a consideration for Duronic to include in their handy-dandy package of stuff here, because they give a nice lot of screw options, different lengths and stuff. That is completely fine, but yeah, no washers. So it could be few and far between this issue. It might not be very widespread at all. This is a very cheapo monitor. But the other thing as well is you really don't want to go crazy on these threads. You don't want to start cranking them. You think, oh, just a little bit more and it'll hold, just a little bit more, crank. Because if you go pop and you lose that thread and everything just keeps spinning, all the screws just keep spinning in the holes, you have knackered the mount. And it's my experience that you need all four screws in a Visa mount for it to be stable. It'll obviously stay up there with 2 screws or 3 screws, but when you're on an arm like this, the monitor is miles away from where it's actually held to the desk. So when you're pulling on the side of the monitor and stuff, you need that strength here. You need that 4 corners attached, otherwise it's just going to wobble and stuff. But anyway, that's that on there. So now we can just place this on the pole and see how it looks. Hey, so there it is. There's my new test monitor, looking pretty dusty, but we will obviously dust it, and we can just swing it out really close, swing it around there, swing it over there. So that is nice and convenient. Yeah, looking really good. I did have to put this little doodad on. I forgot about this. So with these Duronic arms, you get the main arm itself, but then you get this little collar that you put on underneath. And this is where you want to tighten the height, not this guy. Because if you crank this guy and again that pops, this is just going to free spin all over the place. It's not something that you want. You crank this one to keep it up, and then you don't crank this one as hard so that you then retain the swing on the arm. So yeah, none of this stuff needs to be completely wrenched all the way around. I feel strongly about this because something completely unrelated. I have lent out a lot of equipment to people in the past, lighting and sound equipment, and the stands, people have a tendency to just crank everything. Microphone stands, speaker stands, lighting stands. They see something that needs tightening and they go, yeah, let's go, like that. And then it just goes bing, and it's completely useless to everyone, where it only needs to be finger tight at the beginning because there are other measures in place to hold something up. So anyways, so that's that arm. We have got to do it all over again now for another monitor. This time we're mounting a TV. So as I add stuff here, you guys can see the setup is slowly coming together. We've got the monitor. That is now going to be my permanent monitor, and we're going to feed it in a really, really cool way as well. It's going to be super flexible. All that will probably come in part 2. But now we're going to mount the TV, and I need a TV on the setup because I always need a TV. I had a 32-inch TV on the floor under my desk. I've had it there for years, and I was pulling it up every time I needed to test something. I'm always doing something with an old console, whether I'm buying one cheap, cleaning it up, testing it, and then putting it on eBay, or whether I'm just having fun with stuff, or maybe sometimes some VCR stuff, you know. Whatever I'm doing, I need a TV, so I'm going to put one on the setup here now. And for that TV, we have got a second Duronic monitor arm, not a double arm. We've just got a single arm for the TV. That will be fine. And I picked up a little cheapo 19-inch Sony LCD TV, probably about 10, 12 years old. Nice little set with the inputs that I need. So this is the back of the TV, and this is a good example of where the screw size is perfect. No washers needed. So again, we use the same screws as we did for the monitor. So it's the smaller spacing, smaller thread, shorter ones, but they went in perfectly and there was no need for washers. While we're back here, this is the back of the TV, and it has got everything I need. So we've got SCART, we've got HDMI, and we've got composite and an aerial socket. So it's got everything we need. We can test ancient consoles, we can test all composite stuff and run all standard analog AV kit, and we've got SCART here as well. The only thing it hasn't got is component, which is a little bit of a shame. Most of the TVs this era, even of this size, do tend to have component. This one doesn't for whatever reason, but it is going to be very rare, if never, I need component up here. If I ever need to test a component cable for something, for whatever reason, I can use the TV downstairs. So, bit of a bummer, but never mind, that's absolutely fine. It was worth it. It was a good little deal, and it's a nice Sony Bravia set as well. So it's not like a cheapo, nasty set. It's quite nice. It's in decent-ish condition as well, just needs a bit of a clean. So there's the Sony TV mounted, and then obviously if I want it closer to me, I can just pull it out like this, and it is much closer, so it can be there for testing whatever I need to test, and just as an extra display as well. So there we have it. There's that looking nice and clean, and there's the PC monitor again, so obviously I can still pull that out and move that around and everything. And then I've also got the CRT up here on the bench because I'm going to be doing some nice AV switching, and all of the composite gear will also switch to the CRT. So if I want to look at something on the CRT, I will. And this is the lovely, I think I showed this in the in a previous video, a good couple of years ago. These were a steal. I got 2 of these CCTV monitors for, oh God, it was so cheap. I want to say it was like a £5 or a £10 on eBay with postage. Something crazy like that. And you can see this lovely burn-in on the screen here of the side of a building or windows or something. I can't remember if I made a dedicated video or whether I just mentioned them in passing, but yeah, we've got a CRT on the setup, which is lovely. That's something that I wanted to incorporate. So you guys can kind of see now why I needed all the additional space. That is everything mounted. And the really cool thing is we don't have a lot of protrusion at the back of the desk, so we don't really have to worry about how far we push it back, as long as I've got room to cable everything. That's what I'm going to do now, actually, is just push push everything back into place and see exactly where we are. I have ditched the stand thing around the CRT. That has gone. That looked a bit peculiar when I stepped back from the setup and had a look. So I've just got it under there for now, and I think it may come in handy somewhere under there to kind of stack things. So we'll see about that in a minute. But now what I want to do is get these drawer units under the desk, because having this one and that one over here under this side where my legs are not going to go, that will kind of determine where we place the cable management tray, because the cable management tray is not going to go behind the drawers. It's probably to this kind of side. The only trouble is, again, clearance is an issue, but all I need to do is take the wheels off the drawers and then it should fit, hopefully. The only slight bummer is the drawers are completely full and there's 2 Phillips screws in the bottom of each wheel. So I'm going to have to slide all these drawers out, put them under there and pull the wheels off. Luckily, I don't have the tabs folded out, because on these drawers, you can fold out tabs to stop them pulling completely out. But the trouble with that is they then only stop kind of 2/3 of the way. I like to be able to completely pull them out, so that is good. I had to completely dismantle these things to get them in. The lid, I can't make that turn, that radius under the desk without taking the lid off, so the back panel is obviously fallen off. Oh God, these little things are a nightmare. But I'm going to try and get that back together and then get the second one in here. That's going to be tight as. Considering everything we've done in this video, that was probably the hardest thing. Getting those under there and getting them lined up and then trying to rebuild them under the desk. But it was worth it because they are 100% perfect fitting and they look super clean. So I need to reorganize all the drawers, but that'll come later. I've pulled that setup closer as well, so we've got this nice kind of line of drawers now. There's a bit of a void here, but for any little items such as, does this fit? Let's see. Look at that. That is automatically a place for my tripod now. Check that out. That is just another fluke there live on camera. So there we have it. Tripod storage built in. I'm gonna have a bit of a tidy up, and then next mission will be definitely the stuff under the desk now. I want to get that going because that's kind of like some of the last bits of drilling and that we've got in this video is getting the cable tray and that on. So let me try and make a little bit of room. We can see the setup really taking shape now. You can finally see my kind of vision for everything. Main setup. Unfortunately, the power supply in this top monitor is broken, so I need to sort that, but I've just got it up there so I can show you guys what it looks like and it's out of the way. All this needs cleaning and dusting. Obviously, I've just got everything sitting in its position so that it reduces the pile of clutter behind me and so that I can see how everything fits and looks on the desk. And as you can see, it is just gorgeous. It is a real little tinker corner to tinker around with all sorts of goodies in the future on the channel. Exciting announcement. This is my Mac Pro 1.1. I always need some kind of older Mac OS machine to do DVD stuff, converting stuff, older video stuff, a lot of toast titanium stuff, and the new Macs are just a complete nightmare for that sort of thing. So I need a machine to run my old software and to burn that sort of thing and to do video stuff for people. So the Mac Pro is back on the setup, which is lovely. I'm going to use a KVM to swap the bottom monitor between the Mac Mini and the Mac Pro, and we'll probably do a complete KVM swap on those two because I'm not going to be actively flip-flopping between the two. I'm either using one machine or I'm using the other. 90% of the time it's the Mac Mini, then that kind of 10% of the time I need the older machine. I can flip over to it because you may notice that the iMac 2006 is no longer on the setup, so this will do the duties that I need from an older Mac. So we'll swap all the USB devices over to it as well, probably. Then on the test setup, we're going to have the Doom PC as my Windows box. So that is going to always be there, but I'm always going to have input available for any kind of system that I have on the bench. So I've got a really cool idea behind how I'm going to route the signal and swap between those and stuff as well. Equally as exciting as the AV swapping and wiring, this is going to be a complete nightmare, but it's going to be great fun. Let's dig into this cable tray thing and see what we've got. These are the two new extension leads I've got to put under this desk here. So that'll be quite nice. Just basic 6-way no surge extensions. That is fine because we are going to have surge protection on the main extension lead that they're both connected to. We'll maybe talk about daisy chaining extension leads later on in the video, because I always have to address it, because I get the comments saying, oh, you shouldn't daisy chain extension leads, blah, 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 blah. So maybe we'll address that, or maybe you guys have heard me rant about that too many times, who knows. My original plan for this cable tray was, I was actually going to go super industrial and use like a nice commercial grade cable tray that you would have in a shop or a factory or warehouse or something like that. I was going to use one of those under the desk. But there are a few things wrong with that. Firstly, they come in 3 meter lengths, and I did not fancy trying to use my little hacksaw to trim one of those down. Secondly, especially now I've seen how compact it is under there, it would have been a bit too bulky with the mounting, because I would have needed a drop threaded rod and have some standoffs and bolt them onto the cable tray, so that would have been a little bit kind of bulky. And also, when you actually look at those cable trays, they're designed for cables to go horizontally alongside each other, and not for a bulk of cable to go along it in a channel like that. So the edges aren't actually very high. So instead, I decided to spend that little bit more. I spent the premium for the PC desk cable tray solution, and got these. One for the main setup and one for the test setup. I believe these are the 120 centimeter versions, which is annoying because they did do 160 centimeter versions, and that would have been a little bit better, but they were out of stock by the time I got there. So 2 of these in a box, and somehow they all fit together. So 120 has worked out okay along here. We'll get kind of most of the way across the back. As you guys can see, it is nice and tall on the sides, and there is a lot of room in here, so we can just bulk all the cables in one big chunk. And then the same for the main setup. These are actually big enough to house extension leads in, like that. They're plenty big enough, but we're going to mount the extension leads separately, just to give us maximum room in the cable tray. It'll be a bit neater as well. Lovely tray, lovely, lovely tray, nice and simple. You've got these end caps, they push on, they click on, doesn't take much, and then they're on. Then you've got these brackets, and I was trying to make it a lot more complicated than it was, but basically you just pick wherever there's an upright and you click the bracket into place, and then that just holds that underneath the desk. And then these bits just clip on as covers to help keep the cables pushed down. You can buy additional support, so if you've got really heavy load, you can put another one in the middle, so that's really cool. But my main thing now is to look at where I can actually put this under the desk. So that will involve me just lying on my back under there with a torch. Okay, it seems to be getting harder as we go, but I've done it. I have done it. And Jess had to give me a hand, actually, because it was impossible to hold this and mark out where the holes were going at the same time. But we got one mount there and one mount up there. On this desk, the tray is going to be slightly higher because we're going to be mounting directly to the bottom of the worktop and not to the frame. But here I mounted to the frame because it was just really easy to do so, and that's left it nice and low. This is the tray that we're going to need more access to, so that's kind of perfect. And it's got good clearance between the back of the keyboard tray and the cable tray. We're reaching pretty much, I'd like it a bit longer really. It would have been nice to reach all the way to the drawers and then over as well. So this is a 120, a 160 would have been lovely, but that's still loads of room. Loads and loads of room for cables in there. Way more than these old IKEA ones I had previously that you guys probably remember. That last bit of crawling around under there took it out of me. I don't think I got energy to put the other tray up. That's fine. We have done so much today. Let's have another quick look at this. Everything is mounted and in place. We've got all the basics completely set up. And now, with the cable tray as well, we are that little bit closer. It's just incredible. Ooh, I'm going to do the leg test actually. Do my legs crash into the cable tray? No, they do not. Fantastic. Thank God for that. You've got to be careful. This is only 600 mil, so you have got to be really careful with this mounting. It would have been way easier to do that tray when I had the desk flipped the other way when I was putting the legs and stuff on, but it would have been impossible to tell where I would have had clearance for things like this keyboard tray and that, because all of that was still to be determined at that time. But doing it from underneath is quite difficult. I'm not looking forward to doing the next one, to be honest. So this was by far our longest session on this, and we've got a lot done, but I'm going to call it a day for now. We are on to day whatever it is. So things are still coming together really nicely. We've got some good progress under the desk. So I want to show you guys that I've started running power. So I've got my tall kind of tower extension lead there. You can't see it very well. That's got a load of sockets on it. And then I'm running up to this cable tray that I've now put under the main setup. That is feeding one 4-way extension that's not going to be running off the UPS. This is handy for stuff that I don't want on the UPS, including the speakers, because on the last setup, just as a sort of trial, I put the speakers on the UPS just to see, and if the power goes out, then you get some horrible noises through the speakers, so it's clearly not good for them to run off that battery backup, so that's fine. Speakers will go in there, and then there's 2 free sockets for anything else that I don't want on the UPS that maybe won't quite reach this extension lead, so that's cool. The rest of the stuff on that setup will run off of this guy, which is a nice 6-way that I've got with an IEC wide on the end to go directly into the UPS. So that will sit in the cable tray as well. I'm not going to mount any of the extension leads under the desk because cabling is actually going to be surprisingly minimal on this setup. It'll all sit in the tray really nicely. These trays are really big, and then we can use these kind of cover things to just clip over the top. They just clip on the side like that, and then that'll just push all the cables down as well, so that's really nice. This setup, I've run 2 extension leads off of the tower there onto this setup. One of them is attached to the bottom of the desk there, and the other one is attached to the bottom of the desk. Where is it? There. So they are looking good. I haven't put them in the tray here because this setup is going to have a lot more cables, I think, with everything we've got going on. So getting the extension leads on under the desk out of the way is a good plan. And I've also now found the mouse for this setup. I've got this new Cooler Master mouse that is extremely lightweight, but it was super cheap. So I got this, and the monitor at the same time on Boxing Day. So links to all that will be down in the description. The other little quick thing I've done as well is I've run the cables for these. So I've got the exact right amount of mouse cable there, and I've tied the cables very quickly. Sorry about all this filming, it's pretty nasty, but I've tied the cables to the edge of the tray there so that when they're ready to run into wherever, they are there tied with enough length to pull the tray in and out. So that is good. Next step now is to open this box here and put the other tray on this desk. So I'm going to do exactly the same drill. I've got the keyboard and mouse there waiting for the main setup. I'm going to get that tray on. Once I do, I can actually start plugging in some of this stuff. I gave everything a quick dust yesterday. Not a crazy big dust because I was still doing a little bit of drilling and stuff, so there was still dust floating around. Plus I've still got to do sanding of the edge of the desk. I should really do all the sanding and painting before getting the setups up and running, but I just need this system now. So I want to get it up. I'll see if I can get it up and running today. That would be really good. All of the cable that I pulled off is on this shelf here. That is everything from the setup, so I should just be able to grab cables and plug them in. Shouldn't take long. So mission for this morning, I'm going to get this on, and I'm going to get this working hopefully just as nicely as this one. Fingers crossed we'll use the same brackets and stuff. And just like that, we are up and running with this tray as well. Again, modified by turning it upside down, using those angle brackets, and it is under the desk. Keyboard needs a good clean. Also, I can't remember if I received a wrist rest with this keyboard. I'm going to have to go and look in the box. I think the box is in the attic, because this is actually really comfortable with the wrist rest. So I'd like to put this one on as well, and then it'll hide this stuff as well. But yeah, keyboard and mouse. So that is kind of the last step for components on that desk. I'm going to start plugging everything in. I'm just going to grab all the cable, plug it all in, and then we can finally get up and running. I'll be on Wi-Fi for now because I haven't got Ethernet running across the room or the fiber I need for the 10 gig, but that'll be fine. I'm just going to get basic functions working, and then we'll build it up from there. For some reason, I haven't got much flow of conversation today. It was a long day in work yesterday, and I'm trying to kind of use this bit of time I've got today to the best of my ability, but I am going a little slowly. I'm slightly zombified, so apologies. But yeah, I think I'll get a little kind of resurgence of energy when this setup fires up now and everything is working. Things are running in really nicely. Got most stuff plugged in on the top, and I've just been dropping all the cables down, and I can go underneath now and plug it all in. Keyboard cables go nicely under there, which is lovely. Everything's plugged into the Mac Mini, everything's plugged into the UPS. If anyone's wondering why the UPS is on the desk, usually I put it on the floor, just so I can reach it easily. It's as simple as that, you know. Avoids one big bend down when I want to press the button on it, which is if I want to completely isolate the setup or whatever. So I've just shoved it up there. I've got room for it, so there it is. Okay, so we are all plugged in, believe it or not. And as you can see, we've achieved, you know, quite clean cabling. It's not really clean, it's just all crammed up into there, but that's so high up, you can't see it at all. It's got a couple of power cables coming down, cable for my keyboard pedal. Let's fire it up and see what it does. There we go, that's better. Do you know what? I may actually move that onto the floor because I can hear it. It's making a little noise, which is quite annoying. Here we go, fire up the Mac Mini. And these speakers that are now running off of a different supply, so that is good. Monitor, keyboard and mouse. Oh, lovely, and we're booted. Okay, so I'm gonna log in, just quickly test all my USB devices. It's all looking good at first glance. Oh man, it is lovely to have the setup back up and running. We are completely functioning. This is really nice. I'm so relaxed as well. I've got a lovely angle on my chair. This works perfectly. I just need to get a nice mouse mat and also the wrist rest for this keyboard. I can't remember if it came with one. I don't know why I haven't got a memory of that. But yeah, this is lovely. Absolutely lovely. Of course, Mac Pro is not plugged in. That'll come later when I get a KVM. I need to sort that monitor. I either need to find a replacement power supply for it or, I don't know, do something about that. Hard drive dock is not plugged in, and that's because the cabling for that is still in my network rack, because I used to have the hard drive dock on top of this rack. That was really handy for a while when I was first swapping big data off those drives onto the machines in the rack, but now that I've kind of done that and all my data is migrated, I don't really need it on there anymore, so it'll be a lot handier on this setup so that I can plug in random hard drives and test them. You know, like when you find a drive in the drawer and you're not sure what's on it, you can just dock it and it'll mount straight away. I can see what's on it and test hard drives that I get in machines and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll be a lot better up here, a lot more useful. And the other thing that I really like, of course, is having my keyboard permanently on the desk once again. On my previous setup, the temporary setup before this one, keyboard was just leaning up against the wall and then I'd plop it on the desk every time I wanted to play it, which kind of meant effort, and then it maybe meant that if I had a small little bit of inspiration or I wanted to quickly play for 5 minutes, it was too much effort to do that. But now I can just sit down and play whenever I want. Speakers sound good, everything looks good, I'm really happy. Oh, and check this out. We've got one tray there, and then if we swizzle over, we've got the other tray there. Brilliant stuff. Mission control. Love it. By clearing the floor, I can really get a sense of the space I've now gained in here. I've been slowly putting stuff away and organising things bit by bit, and I am just absolutely blown away by the amount of space in here. I've got all my stuff back in that I was storing outside the room, so I've got these crates of cables and stuff back in here, and yeah, it's not perfect at all, but it is so close. And just look at all that room. This is even better than I pictured it. Even better. What a lovely space. That has just worked out so well. A couple of little things. I've got all of this paraphernalia here, which is mostly like chargers and stuff. I'm planning on having a little charge station here. I need to make some kind of cable system so that I can plug and unplug USBs and stuff for charging, cameras, microphones, power banks, that sort of thing. I want to have some kind of tool rack. So somewhere on this wall, I think a nice basic tool holder, sorry about the rain, nice basic kind of tool holder system so that I'm not always diving into toolboxes or my tool bag. And then I've got to try and kind of like organize my tools. By the way, that's not mine. I borrowed that from work conveniently to start labeling stuff up, because I want to try and label plug tops and things as I'm doing this setup from scratch. just to make troubleshooting and that easier in the future. Microphone, I've got my desk mic here, and there's the arm for it. Again, similar story. It doesn't clamp onto the side of the desk because the desk is too chunky, but that's okay. I don't really want it in the way of the door anyway, so I'm thinking I kind of want it coming from this side. So I'm going to make some kind of mount for it and get it maybe floating. There's a gap there. Maybe get it so that I can pull it from back there over here. Probably just use a couple of these brackets, because these will probably be strong enough. They weren't strong enough to hold the speaker, but that was very heavy. I could probably use these to mount the microphone arm back there. The only trouble is it's kind of hard to get to it now, so I'll leave that for a little bit. I've put a soft box there. I took this off and put it through the washing machine because I got paint all over it, and some of it has come off, but not all of it. So I'm thinking of possibly mounting that to the back of the desk for that corner, because I've got one in that corner. So I can have like corner, and then I need to buy another one to put maybe there that I can rotate, so I can just clamp it to the side of that shelving unit. I think that'll be perfect then for video lighting in here. Those of you wondering about this box, by the way, this is just my LPs. I need to get proper cases for them so that I can store them downstairs. They are not going to stay in here. They're just there for now. Yeah, so nearly all of that is completely full of LPs. I've got some items here that I want to put on display. I want to make myself a little kind of display shelf in here for some geeky stuff. I've got some Doctor Who bits here. Davros, Jess got me him for Christmas, and Sylvester McCoy. So I want to get those guys up. And also I want to get Wallace and Wendelin up. A couple of Daleks. I want a nice little shelf somewhere. I might do that maybe like over there or something. I'm not sure, but I've hung my TARDIS, so that's good. That is there. Yeah, it's feeling like home. Okay, it has been a good few days since the last clip, and I've caught up with all the editing. Setup is working really, really nice. Man, I'm so chuffed. I am so chuffed. As you can see, I've got this setup up and running as well, testing the new keyboard and mouse and monitor. Just got my Doom PC plugged in under the desk for now, but that will be properly set up on the shelf. Right now, I've got the spare parts PC up there. We're going to look at that in the future. Yeah, it's just great. I'm really loving it. I've painted the front of the desk. I've finished that. It might need a little bit of touching up along there, but it's pretty much there. On the side over here, I still haven't done the trim, but I have painted the timber underneath, so that is all good. I just need to put that nice trim piece there. I will do that either before part 2 or in part 2 of this video. The main focus of part 2 is going to be all the workbench stuff, all the cool wiring we're going to do, all the neat tricks that we're going to incorporate into that setup, which is going to be really cool. As you can see, it's a bit of a mess. I still need to sort everything out, find a place for everything, but all of that is really easy. The bulk of the setup is completely done, and I couldn't be happier. Some extra little bits that I've done since the last clip. One of the biggest ones is I've now run the network cabling, so the rack is all back powered up and making a lot of noise. By the way, I need to delve into the rack and sort the cooling scenario. Some of the fans have stopped working, and it means that my big fan unit constantly kicks in now when there's any kind of temperature in the rack, so I need to sort the cooling in there. But one thing I have done is I've run the fiber line and the Cat 6 line to behind the desk, so that's now just loosely run along there. The Cat 6 just comes out around here. We'll get that into a switch, so we've got more ports to play with, and then the fiber goes all the way into that nice little USB QNAP adapter, the Thunderbolt 3 QNAP fiber thing. There's a link to everything in the description, folks. So that's working well. That just about reached. All I need to do is get a just a nice little bit of decorative trunking above the skirting there. Pop those in. I do have some pieces, but they're not long enough. A couple of bits here. So this sort of thing will just sit above the skirting, taking those cables. I'm not going to do trunking all the way along. I'm going to do trunking just from behind this drawer unit to just behind that shelving unit, so just the distance that I need. I'm gutted that I don't have enough length, to be honest, but yeah, I'll find some somewhere. One big-ish thing is I'd love to get this monitor back up and running, because right now I've got absolutely nothing, so I'm either going to get a replacement power supply for that or come up with another plan. I'm not too sure, but I will try and figure that out. That needs to be done. Other than that, I am really happy. So I've just got to kind of wait now for a little bit of a little bit of a kind of resettling in the financials to buy some of the bits and pieces to get this done. I mean, this ended up being surprisingly expensive, but obviously really cheap in regards to what we've achieved, but just with a few of the things that we've splashed out on, it has kind of climbed up in terms of budget. I've done this straight after Christmas, and obviously all the painting and that as well. It hasn't been the cheapest of things, but definitely worth it. Of course, still no joy on the speaker bracket here. Got to come up with a plan for that, got to get all this finished, but hey, that is all to come in part 2. So there we have it, the complete and utter transformation of IMNC HQ. And if you've made it this far in the video, guys, I'd just like to say to all of you a massive happy IMNC anniversary. This is being uploaded on the 15th year of IMNC. So February 20th, 2024 marks 15 years of IMNC. So just a huge thank you to you guys. The dates couldn't have lined up any better. Again, it's one of those things that wasn't planned, it just worked out, and I'm super chuffed that we've done such a momentous project for our 15 years. So happy anniversary to you all. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, which will probably not be part 2. We'll have to wait a little while to get this done, but I've got loads of other cool stuff lined up for you guys, so I cannot wait to show you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one.